Hello everybody, thank you guys so much for being here today. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Charlotte. I am a psychic medium. I am clairvoyant, clairaudient, clairsentient. I am an empath. I do not read tarot cards. I don't use any divination tools. And I mostly focus on celebrity readings on my channel. So anyway, this is not going to be about any of that. This is going to be probably my most requested video from clients, and it's my psychic journey. I filmed one of these a long time ago, and I never really felt like I translate the message that well. So this is going to be my, after much practice trying to translate this message video. So I guess I'm gonna start, and some of the parts of this video I am gonna cut out because I don't want anybody to, instill fear in their head, and it's just not necessary. And everybody's journey is so unique, especially on a spiritual path, on a psychic path, anything like that. If you're born with gifts, I'd rather keep this as simple and as not instilling fear into any of my viewers as possible. So I want to start with saying my first experience that was supernatural or like with God or anything, the divine, was when I would say about 6 years old. I used to go to a Catholic school, so I used to have to go to church every Wednesday, and I hated it. But there was one time, and they taught us how to like put your hands out and like receive from God or whatever, and like put your hands out, meaning receiving. And I remember that was like the first time I was like, maybe I'm going crazy, but like I can literally feel him like standing, and I visually like I could see him, that he's with me, you know what I mean? And I'm Catholic, if you guys haven't guessed. I still am practicing Catholic, practicing Christian. It's so funny how Catholicism goes hand in hand with paganism, with candles and everything like that. But anyway, that's besides the point. So that was my first supernatural experience with God. It was pretty profound. I really didn't know what to make of it, and especially in my earlier years, I did not know how to make of any of this stuff because this really wasn't popular. I really didn't think it existed. I really didn't believe in the other side until I was probably 20 years old. And this is going to be a really personal story because, I don't know, it's just, there were some other factors that made me come into it at a young age rather quickly. And doing drugs, mixing drugs, like at a young age, not recreational. I had very bad anxiety when I was younger, so they would put me on drugs, and the drugs that they put me on would make me see things. Luckily, I only took those drugs like twice or 3 times, and once I fully stopped, I stopped seeing things. But my second experience, and this point forward, is where a lot of the stuff started happening, like not religious or whatever. I was 15. Trying to get a timeline down here. Okay, so I was 15, and I knew that one of my mom's friends was a witch. Like, she identified as a witch or whatever. But I really liked her. I thought she was cool. Like, she was so much fun to hang around with. She was so much like into earth, and I don't know, like I just liked her. She was cool. And I didn't think anything bad of it. They've been friends forever. So I think she gifted her these tarot cards, and without scaring you guys, this is my first like worst experience ever, like out of everything. But let me not jinx it because I'm not putting that energy out there. So yeah, long story short, did not go well. I really did not like being in my house after that, and I don't know, there was just a lot of like bad energy in the house, and I remember I would not know what it was, but there was just something in the house that I couldn't stay there. Like I couldn't even let myself go in there. I would wait outside in the cold. Yeah, like she was always kind of protecting me in a way. Like I would be okay with going in the house if she was there, but if she wasn't there, no, I would not go in there. And this is when I was like 15, so I guess I would have been very, very sensitive at this point. Mind you, this was like when you first start out, I feel like it comes very intensely, or at least it did for me. Maybe it was all the drugs. Like I said, I wasn't using them recreationally. I was like prescribed to them for my anxiety, which is also a really big sign. If you have like panic attacks and stuff like that, that I feel like that's like the main sign of psychic ability, because anxiety is just a lot of overwhelming energy. If you're a medium, the energy is crazy. And to be able to get to that dimension, I can't even really explain it, but I would say to get to the dimension that spirits are on, it takes so much energy, guys. And I would get panic attacks all the time because there would be ghosts that were trying to talk to me, and they would present themselves to me physically, and I was not on board with that, like, whatsoever. I hated that. I remember, like, one time I woke up and I saw somebody staring at me, and I just hated it. Like, I had these experiences. That was one time, and then I would hear my name all the time. But there was one time in between there. I think I was on a flight back from Peru, and it was so vivid. Like, I swear, I asked my dad, because we were sitting next to each other. I'm like, why are you like calling my name like over and over again? And he was like knocked out. It was like an 8-hour flight. Like, everybody in the plane was like dead asleep. Everybody. There was nobody up. I checked everywhere around, and like nobody would know my name anyway. And this has also happened before when nobody was around. So my dad's like, what are you talking about? I'm like, you keep calling my name. Like we were like arguing about it. And he denied it. He's like, I'm like asleep. And I'm like, all right, whatever. A lot of these things I would just ignore because, you know, obviously you don't want to face what could be if it's like unknown, especially when you're really young. Like, I was 15, guys. I don't think any 15-year-old should have to like be going through something that intensely, but for psychics and intuitives and empaths, like, I feel like it's just we have to do it anyway. So I remember, like, I prayed a lot. I actually had a teacher, and she's like an amazing woman. She told me something about protection symbols, and I didn't know what they were. But apparently we all have our own protection symbols, and they keep us from extreme situations, like they're just protection. So one time, like in between this, okay, I'm being told not to tell you guys this story because I really don't want to scare anybody. But anyway, this was my worst. This was, yeah. It was just so much energy, and if you're on a lower vibration, not that I was like bad or anything, but you know, at 15, you don't know what's going on. Like, you can't handle that much energy. So it was just very intense for me. And then I went to church all the time, and I would pray, and I would just ask like them to take them away. Like, I couldn't stand seeing them anymore. I couldn't stand hearing them anymore. And luckily now I don't see them physically. I don't hear them physically. I used to hear them physically, like as if we were having like a conversation, and that does not happen anymore, thank God. I literally just begged God to just make it all stop, and he did. And there was a lot of times where I would get sleep paralysis too, and I would just beg God to make them stop, and he did. And I feel like that's why I'm still a Christian. I never really... I always had like a bad vibe about getting into like atheism, and I'm not saying anything is wrong with it. I knew that wasn't my path. And also within my beliefs, I don't feel like everybody should all be a part of the same God. I feel like certain gods create certain of us. If you are born into religion, then, you know, I feel like there's probably a reason for it. So yeah, I don't feel like everybody should just go out and follow Jesus. That might not be your path. That might not be your purpose. You know what I mean? But I always felt like a very deep personal connection between us. And once I started seeing my own past lives and stuff like that, it kind of just reaffirmed it. And I remember when I was younger, my first word was in Hebrew. And I'm not Jewish, guys, I'm like Spanish. And nobody knew how I even knew this word. I would call my grandmother Ima all the time. And also my grandmother, past life connection here. And I was so young, guys. I was like 2. I don't know, when did kids start talking? Like 1. I would always call her Ima, and you know, we do have a past life relationship, me and my grandmother. So I always found that funny. And my first words that I ever wrote, I would write in like the Arabic style, where they would start off like on the right side, and just things that were like, they were adding up, and it made me look very like peculiar, I guess, to my family, because you know, we live in America now. But I did, like, I was always wondering about that. And I met somebody like along my way like a few years ago, and they told me that I had some type of past life as like some type of like servant. I don't know what they would call it, but it's like some type of religious servant. Yeah. And yeah, they just really reaffirmed everything that I already like kind of had a feeling about. So that was really nice. And I don't think it was like a psychic reading. It was just like they picked it up for me or whatever, and they told me about it. So I don't know if that would be considered a psychic experience. I feel like that's just a past life experience, and that's probably my most predominant past life experience. Also, my fairy past lives, like, those are intense, because I would always have reoccurring dreams of being a fairy, and I was obsessed with fairies, like, and I didn't know that like magic existed or anything like that until I was 20. I remember somebody came up to me once and they told me that I had a really like fascinating aura, and I was like, what's an aura? And yeah, so I really didn't know anything about this stuff. But anyways, that was my experience when I was 15. I really didn't like it, and I asked them to make it stop, and they did, thankfully. This is really what restored my faith in God. And because when I was younger, I really didn't want to go to church all the time and everything like that. So I kind of grew out of it in a way, but it reaffirmed my faith, I guess. Now, fast forward to like, I would say it was about 19. I was dating this guy, and he was amazing. He was so lovely. I always wish the best for him. Like, he's probably the best guy I've ever dated. But I was just going through so much, like, spiritually, like, evolving, and my anxiety was absolutely crazy. And he was going through a lot too. Like, he was in the military. He had PTSD, really bad PTSD, and like, we were both very caring, like, for each other, and we really cared about each other. And you know, like, we had a long distance relationship. We'd fly in and out of like New York from Indiana, and like, yeah, we would do that. And he eventually wanted to move here. It didn't work out, unfortunately, but we really cared about each other. We just had a lot of issues going on, and me more so my awakening process, and him dealing with PTSD, and you know, being depressed, and unfortunately the things that our veterans have to go to, and don't really have a lot of support from the VA when going through these things, which really upset me. But we would talk and everything, and the fact that we had so many, like, we had issues, like insane issues, and it wasn't even because of us. It was just because of our energies were just like so explosive, because we both were going through our own stuff, you know what I mean? But eventually we had to break up. He told me that I should go to therapy, which I did. And you know, like, if you go to any therapist and you tell them that you like, you know, you tell them that you're having extreme anxiety, and like, you know, what they're gonna tell you, they're gonna say you're crazy and everything like that. And I never felt like I was crazy, you know what I mean? Because I don't know, it never seemed like the right diagnostic for me. I always knew that there was like something more, because I've always been like very, very smart, to the point where things that like were very dumb in academics, I would lose interest in them. And I don't know, like I just always knew I was very smart, you know what I mean? So I didn't want to say that I was crazy. I feel like I should be labeled as, you know, something else. But after I spoke with this woman and she just gave me a really bad taste in my mouth, I think then I met my current Reiki master, who, yeah, I think like a few months after that woman, I was like, okay, I'm never going to a psychiatrist again. I don't believe in therapy. I'm just going to go find my own way, and I'm going to try something called Reiki. And then I was on Facebook and I saw that there was like a New York Reiki society, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is great. Like there's like women that they would post like their experiences with Reiki and like just talk about it. And then I found her, like, I don't know if she was on the page or she just like popped up as like a suggested page, and we started working together. At this point, like I knew I was like, there was something else up with me, like I knew it. And I didn't know that people could like pick that up from me, but she picked it up like within our first session. And she's the one that told me that I was an empath. And I'm like, you know, I did research on it and I was like, I don't really feel like I pick up emotions. And then I started hanging out with my family. And this is like my other half of the family that they hold a lot of ancestral karma. This is my South American side. And I would see their past lives. I would see that one of my family members in a past life did some, you know, things I'm not gonna say on camera, but like tribal rituals. You guys get the gist of it. I would just see a lot of that in this one side of my family. And then I would see pictures, and I could read people through pictures if you guys don't already know that, which I always tell you. I would see pictures of my ancestors and I would be like, wow, like they're all witches. They all have like this dark energy. All of them. And the only ones who don't is me and my two other cousins. Like we're the only ones that are like, we have pure energy, like light energy. I think one of them is actually probably going to be more psychic than me. So it was really interesting when I saw that. And within our Reiki sessions, she told me that she had like visions of the Amazon. And then, you know, like I told her that I was from Peru, and she's like, oh, okay, that all makes sense now. So that really helped me, meeting somebody like that. I always feel like that meeting in particular was like so fated, and like I was just so meant to meet her. And I don't say that about everything. Like I'm not the like everything happens for a reason type of person. I just like about that connection and like meeting that person. Yes, like that definitely happened for a reason. And then another significant thing that happened within that time period. I think this was a little bit before. I'm sorry if I get like confused, because this happened a while ago. Okay, so I was dating that guy, the guy with PTSD, and this other person found me on Instagram, and we would just talk, like we were friends, we'd be friendly, and weirdly enough, I didn't think anything of it, because it's like, why is some guy texting me that doesn't know me trying to just talk to me every day and be friendly when he knows I have a boyfriend? Then again, I was like 19 and, you know, dumb, whatever. And eventually he kind of like made me choose to like, you know, after me and my ex broke up, we would still talk, me and him. But this guy, he kind of like made me choose him, like to say I'm not gonna talk to the other guy anymore, just so we could start dating. And guys, this is like I don't know if this would be even considered a soulmate connection. This was something else. Like this was like a lot of karma in this connection. But I would say was probably like a very karmic soul tie. And I've never experienced anything like this person before. And mind you, everything that we would talk about was over Instagram DM. I think we may have like FaceTime once, and then after that day that like I told him that I'm not gonna talk to my ex anymore, like even as a friend, he came like the next day, like at 8 a.m. He's like, and I think he caught it first. He's like, I saw a picture of you and like your eyes, like I couldn't stop staring at you. And I was like, okay, whatever. That's a little weird, but so he picked me up super early, like at 8 a.m. And it was a snowstorm, so like all of New York City was not supposed to go out driving, but he drove to me anyway. And like I remember I just got in the car and I'm like, hi, and I don't know, the energy was just off. Like I don't stare at people, like I don't make eye contact like right away, like it's a little weird. But I don't know, like the energy was just off. And then we went to this place and we were sitting there, like this breakfast place, and he was so draining. Like I just felt like the energy just being drained from me. And I felt like somebody was saying, Charlotte, like you don't need to be in this situation right now. Like you should get out of here. I just felt like somebody was telling me like you need to really like leave. The situation's not good. And I was like, okay. So I asked him like, can we go? Like, you know, I was like, all right, this date's a dud. This guy's a dud. Like, I'm gonna try and break him off like in the sweetest way possible and not hurt his feelings. And then he was driving me and we were talking in the car, and I don't know, I think we were like joking about something, and he like double parked, and he like looked at me, and I was like, and I looked at him back, and I was like, oh my god, like chills and like, you know, soul recognition. It was like love at first sight. I think we both told each other that we loved each other within the second day, which is so weird admitting this on camera. But you guys get it. And yeah, like it was really good. It was like amazingly good. Like I don't think I'd ever find somebody that could be like more intense than that situation. That was like the most intense situation I've ever been in. And he asked me to be his girlfriend within like a week. And yeah, like we would like the telepathy, like I feel like, you know, it was a really bad situation, but oh my god, like he taught me how to read people, like telepathically communicate with people. And this person, he was a starseed. He would be considered as a gray. I would consider him a gray. He was more of a low dimensional starseed, which I consider lower dimensional starseeds as grays, whereas higher dimensional starseeds that are from different star systems, just like 𝒸𝒽, Pleiades, those ones, I just see there's a different level here, in my opinion. So with this guy, he like would talk to me and like we wouldn't say anything. We would stare at each other. There was one time we went out and we just stared at each other for 6 hours straight, and we could just read each other's minds. And I don't know, like it was the weirdest thing. It was something I didn't think was actually possible. Like I didn't believe in any of this stuff. And he would tell me, and I would just have these visions of our like past lives together, and it was very intense, guys. It was really intense, and he was probably the hardest guy that I ever had to get over. Like, and we were only together for like a week, which is crazy because I'm not usually like that, you know what I mean? Like And it's just, the crazy part is that we were both like as crazy for each other the same way. So it was a bad situation, but he did definitely open me up to psychic gifts. And we would do something where we would like have the same dreams when we were separated, we would have the same dreams every single night. And he would tell me, and I don't know, like I still don't, and this happened like 4 years ago. This happened 3 years ago. And I still don't know how to explain it. It was just the weirdest thing. And it's so weird now because we don't talk like at all. And I don't think about this, like I'm just explaining it to you. So I wouldn't consider this love. Like, and that's what's so confusing, because here we have this really intense relationship where we're both like love at first sight, and now we don't talk to each other, and we don't, like, I don't even really think of him. You know what I mean? That's just like the stuff that blows my mind. I don't have dreams of him anymore. I actually had to get something called a soul, what is it called? A cord cutting. And luckily, the person that I work with, the Reiki master, I've been working with her forever. She did that for me, and that really helped. Because it was very draining. I would get sick a lot because his energy was very bad. Like I said, lower dimensional gray energy. So, and then me, I'm, more kind of like high vibrational, not trying to brag, but, like it just wasn't colliding. So I had to get that cut off. It took me about 2 years to get over him. And like, if I really think about it, I don't know, like that connection is still like a huge question mark. But he really did open me up to telepathy. Remote viewing, I would remote view with him a lot. Man, I had so many visions of us just fighting. And like, not even visions, just daydreams, and they just would feel so real. And like, there would be some times where I would just be like walking, or I'd just be in my room, and I would feel his like presence next to me. So if that has ever happened to you guys, please comment below, because I don't understand that at all. But anyway, enough about him. Even though he is a big part of this, because I didn't know, like I said, he taught me a lot, and he also taught me a lot about the dream worlds, and how to control your dreams, and how to be conscious in your dreams. And he just really opened my eyes to it. And also, since there was a soul recognition, it kind of did help with my psychic ability of reading faces, because I could read his emotions from just being next to him. I could read his emotions, I could read his like stare. So he really did help me in a way growing psychic abilities. But other than that, he's trash. He's canceled. So anyway, that ended. That was painful. That was draining, because he was an energy vampire and he really drained me. But we're over it. And so now this was just me more so gaining spiritual knowledge. And when I was like 22, like 21, I was so open to everything, and I really don't like very much discourage being so open to everything, because I just wanted to learn everything. And I found it so like fascinating, and I wanted to do like telekinesis and stuff like that, and I never got there. Like, I got to remote viewing, and I think that's pretty cool, and I don't do that anymore because I don't really believe in it, and I see what the CIA does with it. And I have like more ethics and like respect for people's boundaries now and stuff. But I think a big part of that is the fact that I didn't eat any meat. Like, for a year, I didn't eat meat, and I was able to do a lot more. Now I eat meat, and like I'm more grounded. I'm more like grounded in my body and like centered, and I like that feeling. And I'd rather be feeling like that than be able to, remote view. And there was a few other things that I could do. Telepathically talk. it's hard for me to do that now. But yeah, I think I am gonna make this a part 2 because I'm probably talking for like 40 minutes now. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I will eventually make a part 2 of this.